Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my very first video. I'm so excited to be with you here today. My name is Celeste Shantz and I'm coming to you today from our little home. We live behind a small, very small wool and dairy farm in western New York State. Well, I decided to invest in a few books for the summer and fall, and I'd like to share some of my summer 2022 TBR reading pile with you. These are some titles that I've already started that I'm very excited about, and now that it's kind of July, August, I just wanted an opportunity to check in and let you know some of the things I'm reading. And I will link these books down below, and please in the comments feel free to let me know what you're reading this summer as well and what's on your summer reading list. The first book that I wanted to share with you that I'm very excited about is by the Scottish author Mary Stewart. And Mary Stewart has written a slew of novels. I know, how could I have never read a Mary Stewart novel before, but it's true. I do remember that my mother Carol was an avid Mary Stewart fan, and I can see all of those lovely hardcover mid-century modern covers next to her bedside table. The Stormy Petrel and Thorny Hold, and this one as well, Wildfire at Midnight. This is Stewart's second novel, and it's actually set on the Isle of Skye in the Hebrides. There's a woman called Gianetta. She's the main character, and she has just come through a brutal divorce, and so she is sort of trying to escape her home in London, where the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II is also going on, apparently. So she's just trying to sort of get away from it all and have some peace and tranquility with some time away on the Isle of Skye. Well, soon enough, a murder ensues and the body shows up, and Gianetta gets somehow embroiled or caught up in that, and it's amidst the lovely background of the Isle of Skye with the craggy mountain peaks and the castles and the harbor fronts, giving it kind of a Gothic feel, I think. And of course, Mary Stewart's known for suspense. So it just sounds really, really interesting. I love Scotland. I would love to travel there. I love literature that's set in Scotland. I was looking for something that kind of had a summer island feel, but yet a Gothic Scottish feel. So I thought this might be a good one to start with, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if I like Mary Stewart. So the next book is called Life Between the Tides, and this is nature writing, and it's written by Adam Nicholson, and he is a past winner of the Somerset Mom Award and also the Undaji Prize, I believe. And this also has kind of a Scottish connection. In this book, Adam Nicholson is vacationing at a family home on the coast of Scotland and decides to build some tidal pools and observe them. Now, he's a well-known nature writer, has written lots and lots of things, has appeared on many television shows, and written in many magazines and for The Guardian and so forth. This book kind of intrigued me. He's observing these tidal pools, and in addition to his scientific observation, there's a mingling with social history, poetry. You have quotes from The Tempest and from Virginia Woolf, and it's sort of an observational love letter, I guess you might say, for the meeting place between the land and the sea, macrocosm and microcosm. It's sort of a witnessing of an in-between place, maybe. And he's paying close attention to just the basic life that he sees in these rock pools. So limpets, anemones, green crabs, It just looked intriguing to me, and it has some lovely watercolor art by a woman called Kate Boxer. So yeah, this looks good, and I'm hoping that I enjoy this as much as I think I'm going to. Let's see, and I am using a few notes. So the next one is an old favorite of mine. This is my well-worn copy. This is Island of the Blue Dolphins, and this is children's literature. It's a vintage copy. This was published in 1960, and it's the copy I remember from my childhood. It's written by a man called Scott Odell. He has several other good books available too. And this is about a girl called Karana. And Karana lives in a village. She's one of the Nicoleño indigenous peoples who live on a small island off the coast of California at the time of the 1830s. And it's very remote. Well, one day some Aleutian and Russian fishermen visit the island. She sees the boat approaching on the horizon, and they do end up landing, and it's a hunting party, and they're there for, I believe, the seals. And unfortunately, a tragedy ensues, and Karana finds herself alone on the island, and now she has to survive on her own. And one of the things that's interesting about this, that I remember being so awestruck about as a child, is that she wasn't taught any of the skills of survival, which were traditionally thought of as the boys' and the men's skills. So spear making and hunting and all of that was forbidden to females. So she needs to learn very quickly how to make weapons and how to build a shelter, how to hunt, how to gather food. There are also predators on the island that she needs to keep herself safe from. There are so many beautiful descriptions in this book. The seabirds and the hidden sea caves. She lives a very quiet life, and she's very much in touch with nature. There's some conservation and environmentalism in it, which is really cool, given that it was the 1960s when this was written. It's got a lot of images of sea dolphins and otters playing, and there's one scene I remember very fondly where she's in a boat and she's trying to get away from the island. Well, it's become nighttime and she's sort of lost. She's trying to navigate by starlight, and it's just a very touching scene. And I think the thing that strikes me most about this book is that when it was written, and I was a little girl in the 60s reading it, I was very struck by the fact that we're viewing everything from Karana's point of view, but it's not from the point of view of a female or of a girl. It's just from the point of view of a human being trying to survive. And I thought that was just a brilliant way to portray it. It's also a beautiful feminist tale of survival. I'm really, really looking forward to rereading this, and I hope you'll give it a try too. The next book that I wanted to share with you, I'm sort of right in the middle of it at the moment, as you can see from my little bookmark here, and this is Agatha Christie. It's a Caribbean mystery. I love Agatha Christie, and this is a fantastic cover. I do collect these editions in particular. It's, I don't know if you can see there, but it's Collins Crime Club, and these are what's called facsimile editions that were published in several runs within the past couple of decades, and they have the look of the original hardcovers that came out with the first editions of each of Agatha Christie's novels, so they're really cool. They're a very nice size for reading and managing in your hand as well. So in a Caribbean mystery, it's a Miss Marple mystery. Miss Marple's my favorite. And her nephew Raymond has recently sent her to the Isle of Saint Honore in the Caribbean to recuperate. A few months earlier, she had had a bout of pneumonia. And so Raymond is trying to be the dutiful nephew and bundles her off to this resort called the Golden Palm Hotel. And so she's there and she's knitting and she sits on the beach and she listens to everyone conversing, but it's a little bit boring. She feels as though there's really not much to do. And so she starts chatting with a very boring and rambling gentleman, and his name is Major Palgrave. And Major Palgrave is going on about all of his campaigns and adventures that he had when he was a younger man. And he starts telling her about a murderer. And he said, would you like to see a photograph of a murderer? He got away with it more than once. Well, she's sort of half listening as he's taking out this photograph. Well, then Major Palgrave gets interrupted by some people approaching, and he hurriedly puts the photo back in his wallet, and Miss Marple never finds out who it was. Shortly after, a murder ensues, and it's up to Miss Marple, and with the aid of Jason Raphael, who's another visitor to the hotel, to solve this. And she sort of goes through and narrows down the suspects one by one. I've seen the movie versions. I especially enjoy the one with Joan Hickson. So yeah, I'm enjoying this, and I look forward to finishing it. It's I'm right at the part where it's kind of getting good, and she's sort of starting to collaborate with Jason Raphael, who also shows up in another of her novels, Nemesis. So yes, a Caribbean mystery by Agatha Christie. You can't go wrong with Christie in the summertime or any time of year. The next book I'd like to share with you, lovely cover on this edition, and this is actually a collection of short stories. This is called Bayou Folk. It's by Kate Chopin. Kate Chopin was an American author. She lived in Louisiana, and she wrote The Awakening and lots of short stories that are just beautiful. Her prose style I absolutely love. And she is really excellent at describing the low country of Louisiana, of New Orleans. One of my favorite short stories that she wrote, which is actually in this collection, and it's one of the reasons that influenced me to buy it, is Desiree's Baby. And she really just captures what it's like for a woman living in that time in terms of what color you are, what ancestry, what it's like to be what's known as a quadroon. And a quadroon is someone who is 1/4 African. And she also was quite feminist for her time and kind of defied the social norms and stereotypes and the agency women had over their own body at the time. So lots of material to think about here in beautifully written short stories in this collection. So I hope you'll give this one a try as well. In a very similar vein, I was interested in reading this book. This is a novella. And look at the artwork on that. This is a Penguin edition. This is Summer by Edith Wharton. Edith Wharton was also an American author, and she's probably best known for her Gilded Age novels, which are set in New York City, the Age of Innocence, and so forth. But this one is actually set in a small town. It was supposed to be one of Wharton's personal favorites that she wrote, and I have heard it referred to as the Hot Ethan. Laugh out loud, because it's referencing Ethan from one conjures to bring that image to mind, a hot Ethan from. But anyway, it's set in a little New England town called Dormer, and it's set in, I think it came out actually in 1917, so World War I years. And there is a woman in it, and her name is Charity Royal, and she lives in North Dormer, that's correct. She gets a job at the town library, and she's looking to save up money because she would like to escape the little town of North Dormer and make her fortune elsewhere. She's facing some personal issues, familial issues, some oppression. And while she is still in town, she meets a young architect who's come to live in town for the summer. And this is the story of their relationship and how that unfolds and what happens. And it doesn't sound to me like a very light summary read, but at the same time, it sounds really good and important. I love Edith Wharton's writing style. I loved her short story, Roman Fever. She's just brilliant. And so I'm really looking forward to sitting down with a glass of something cool and just enjoying this one day this summer. Yeah. So that's that one. Next up on the list is a really fun one, and I have actually already finished this. This is Daphne du Maurier's Frenchmans Creek, and this is the Virago edition of Frenchmans Creek. You can't go wrong with Daphne du Maurier. I'm a huge fan. I loved Jamaica Inn, and I really enjoyed this one as well. This is about a woman named Donna St. Colombe. She's a lady that lives in London. She's married and she has kids, and her marriage is really boring and stifling. Her husband is not really a nice person. Petulant, childish, drunken, attention-seeking, needy. And her, she's a good mother to her kids, but she just really needs something more. So she decides to take her kids and the nurse, and they go to a summer home, the family summer home, and that's on the Cornish coast. And shortly thereafter, she thought it was going to be this peaceful, quiet, country Cornish time, but no, a swashbuckling adventure begins shortly thereafter. There's been pirate activity in the area, and Donna gets caught up in that, and it's a beautiful sort of light romance, but there's also suspense, which you would expect from Daphne du Maurier, and yeah, I really recommend this one. And what I like about it is that Donna, during the novel, is coming to understand what she really needs in her life and what she wants and the person that she wants to be, not what everybody else wants her to be or expects of her. And finally, I have one more book. I'm really excited to start this one. This is the vintage movie classics edition of The Ghost and Mrs Muir. It's by R.A. Dick. And R.A. Dick was apparently the pen name of an Irish author, a woman named Josephine Amy Campbell Leslie. She apparently wrote another novel called The Devil and Mrs. Devine. So this tells the story of a woman named Lucy Muir, and Lucy Muir is recently widowed. She has a little girl and is currently living with her in-laws, and they're very stodgy and stiff and sort of I don't know, represent the vestiges of the last of the Victorian diehards in terms of their outlook on everything, just kind of strict and straight-laced. So Lucy decides to pack up and go to a place called Gull Cottage, which is a house on the coast and overlooking the ocean. She got it really cheaply because it's apparently haunted by the ghost of an old grizzled sea captain, and his name is Captain Gregg. Well, she meets the ghost of Captain Gregg. She also decides to write a book about his life, and so this is kind of their time at Gull Cottage and how their relationship unfolds and how he sort of acts as her literal inspiration, as he is a spirit. And so I'm very much looking forward to this. I do remember the movie from the 1940s, which starred Gene Tierney and Rex Harrison. So, that was a really neat movie to watch when I was a little girl. So I'm looking forward to reading this and then pairing it with a kind of nostalgic rewatch of the Joseph Mankiewicz film. That's all the books I have for today. This is part of a video series, and so there will be future installments with even more reads. What are you reading this summer? Please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I'm really excited to share these titles with you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.